Hello, this is Sam. We're back with Beyond the Borders, and today we are going to count down our top 10 worst dictators. By the way, I have been told repeatedly that I need to emphasize that these are dictators who are currently alive. So no Hitler, no Stalin, no Mao, no Pol Pot, none of that, or Milosevic, or any of those guys. Mainly because these guys are all still alive, and they're all still ruling. So that's why they are included in the list. In our number 10 spot we have Gurbanguly Berdimuhamedov. Whatever. Okay, it's a tough name to pronounce, but I'll tell you about the despot of Turkmenistan, the tiny country in Central Asia you will never hear about again in your life. Gurbanguly Berdimuhamedov was once a dentist, but now he rules Turkmenistan with absolute personal authority, with a personality cult, arbitrary arrests, and even a statue in the capital of himself made out of gold. Solid gold. Yeah. Number 9. Xi Jinping, China. A very, very important country, and a very, very large country, will be talked about more and more on this show. So, Mr. Xi, since coming to power in 2012, has executed a brutal so-called anti-corruption campaign, which in reality has basically eliminated any and all threats to his eternal dominance of China. Basically, he wants to be the emperor. Yeah, that's interesting. And of course, in China, dissent is not allowed. Especially religious minorities such as Christians, Muslims, and even Tibetan Buddhists are all regularly harassed. Xi also sometimes makes military threats towards his neighbors such as Vietnam, Taiwan, Japan, and even the United States. Yikes, Xi's a scary guy. Number 8. Omar al-Bashir, Sudan. So, here we are, Sudan, Africa, big country. In the 1990s, Omar al-Bashir became infamous for protecting Osama bin Laden even while he plotted terrorist attacks against the United States, particularly its embassies in parts of Africa. Omar al-Bashir was thus heavily sanctioned by the international community, and after, in the 2000s, when it was proven that he conducted a genocide in the so-called Darfur region, Bashir is since wanted by the International Criminal Court. But thanks to his cooperation now against terrorist groups, Bashir has been removed from the international sanctions, and thus, because of that, I rewarded him. So good job, Omar. Number 7. We're not moving far away. In fact, we're staying in East Africa for Isaias Afwerki, the dictator of Eritrea. Eritrea, if you have never heard of it, is known as the North Korea of Africa. Arbitrary arrests, plus a lifetime of indefinite military service, accompanied with torture and all. Yeah, life is hell in the Eritrean military. In fact, life in Eritrea is so bad that even athletes, when they visit other countries, just defect, meaning that they say that they no longer are a citizen of Eritrea, just whenever they visit. So, life is really hell. In fact, Eritrea has the highest rate of emigration, people leaving, in the world. Yeah. Good job, Mr. Afwerki. Number 6. We are headed to Venezuela, the only country in the Western Hemisphere featured on this list. Venezuela, of course, is a very significant oil producer, for one, and used to be the most stable democracy in Latin America. Of course, when it elected a demagogue named Hugo Chavez in 1999, this all changed. And thus, after Hugo Chavez's death, the economy went downhill real fast, and Maduro, of course, has responded to this with various activities such as torture, more arbitrary arrests, and, of course, shutting down any and all private enterprise. A socialist experiment that has gone far further than even North Korea. Yes, Venezuela is pretty much communist. Yeah, that sucks. Number 5. We have probably the most hated man in America. Well, besides Kanye West. This, of course, is Vladimir Putin, the Russian strongman. Since coming to power in 2000, Mr. Putin has exercised total control over his country of about 150 million. And he rules through a system of assassinations, brutality, voter fraud, torture, and all sorts of things. Yeah, isn't it great to live in Russia? And then, of course, outside of Russia, Mr. Putin has done many provocative things, from supporting European fascists to invading another country. Yeah, Ukraine. Yeah, too bad for Ukraine. Yikes. We'll get to that in another video, I promise. Using chemical weapons against a former spy in the UK, and of course, most infamously, interfering in the United States election. I don't want to get into that. I know that's a heated issue, so no. Number 4. Here we have Kimmy. Yes, Kim Jong-un. While I originally labeled him number 2, his recent summit with South Korean President Moon Jae-in, not Moon Jae-in, I'm sorry, I mispronounced it, sorry, basically proves that he may be interested in a long-lasting peace. So he moves up to number 4 from number 2. Good job, Kimmy. But on the other hand, I need to tell you more that he also uses chemical weapons against enemies, and furthermore, when you get arrested in North Korea, your whole family gets arrested with you. Yikes. Number 3, Turkey. Mr. Recep Tayyip Erdogan is a very, very, very rotten person. I can't emphasize enough how much I hate this scumbag. He has basically ruined Turkey's once proudly secular tradition, basically a westernized country in the Middle East, the only one at that. He has basically thrown that out because of his extreme Islamist beliefs, and has thus revolutionized the Turkish state and regularly uses rhetoric that threatens both the European Union and the United States. He does this, of course, to stay in power. And, of course, you can't forget about the torture and killing the Kurds and possible genocide. Yeah. And, oh, and by the way, there's evidence that that he could support the Islamic State terror group. Yeah, not good. Number 2. Yeah, the last 3 are all in the Middle East. I know, isn't it great? The most screwed up region in the world has the top 3 worst dictators. Yeah. Number 2, the Ayatollah Khamenei of Iran. While Iran may not be that repressive on the inside, on the outside, its foreign policy is really, really radical. Basically, Iran is the source of most of the instability in the Middle East. Yeah, it's their fault. And thus, by sponsoring terror groups to destabilize their neighbors and threatening the world with nuclear Armageddon, especially Israel, yeah, Iran's foreign policy is really, really dangerous. So that's why I have to rank them so high. Their regime is just so awful. Number 1. This was not a hard choice. I know people might think that Kim Jong-un is the worst in the world, but there's one guy who beats him. And that is, of course, Bashar al-Assad of Syria. Yeah. Bashar al-Assad is the only guy that has actually used chemical weapons on a large scale against his own civilians. Basically, since the Syrian civil war started, Assad's policy has been to take the entire country back by force, with no concessions or agreements or negotiations whatsoever, and thus trying to make a solution with him is like talking to a wall. Yeah, who likes talking to a wall? And yes, and so thus his multiple human rights violations and support of terrorism. By the way, he's also an ally of Iran. Yeah. Basically mean that Assad is an obvious number 1 choice. So that is it for Beyond the Borders this week. And next week, I will take you on to a country that is very, very close to us. That country, of course, is Mexico. No. Okay. I'm singing. Bye-bye.